Under the Bed, a real-life horror story.
It was my first duty station in Louisiana, and I was young, new, and ready to prove myself as a military police officer. But after a minor slip up landed me on extra duty, I found myself paired with an eccentric, slightly odd guy I'll call Gerrad. There was something strange about him, a peculiar energy I couldn't quite pin down, but he made the nights pass with his dark humor and strange quirks. I'd see him out and he'd crack jokes as he left, his scent lingering like an invisible calling card, something I could almost taste in the back of my throat. Funky didn't even begin to cover it. One evening, after a particularly exhausting shift, Jerrod walked me to my barracks room, as he often did, lingering a little longer before he let himself out. I didn't think much of it as I settled into my nighttime routine, stripping out of my uniform and stepping into the bath, ready to wash away the day.
She wraps herself in her blanket, sinking into the mattress, allowing sleep to overtake her. Little does she know, danger is lurking closer than she could ever imagine.
Later that night, I was deep in sleep when a slight tug on my blanket yanked me awake. My eyes shot open and my heart was pounding, but there was nothing out of place in the room. With a shaky laugh, I chalked it up to a weird dream and settled back under the covers. But just as I was drifting off, I felt it again. A movement, a subtle shift on the bed. My breath caught as I lay frozen, listening in the silence of the dark room. And then came a faint smell.
Her breathing quickens as she tries to calm herself, reasoning away the noise. But just as she's convincing herself it was nothing, a foul, all too familiar scent fills the air. Her face twists in horror as the smell registers in her mind. There's no mistaking it. It's the unmistakable scent Jerrod carries, lingering pungently in her small room. The realization dawns on her with gut-wrenching certainty. He's here, somewhere, invading her space in the dead of night.
Chills crawled up my spine, and I knew then that this was no dream. I had to look to see if he was hiding in my room. Mustering every ounce of courage, I swung myself off the bed with my back facing it, lunged toward the light switch and turned it on. Still facing away from the bed, I grabbed the small boombox on my nightstand and hit play, blasting music into the suffocating silence. With my heart now in my throat and trembling hands, I reached for the covers and yanked them back.
With her heart pounding in her chest, she drops to her knees and peers under the bed. Her stomach lurches as she spots a leg.
And there, underneath my bed, was a scrawny, ashy leg with a white sock. And I gasped. All the air pulled from the room. In response, a shape began to move, to crawl out, and I was paralyzed. As Jerrod slithered out from under my bed, naked as the day he was born, one hand clutching his crotch as he muttered frantically, wait, it's not what you think.
As she regains her voice, anger replaces her fear, and she demands to know why he's in her room. Gerrod, still half covering himself, insists he can explain, his words stumbling over each other as he tries to justify his invasion.
My stomach churned and I stumbled back, shouting for him to get out, but he just kept saying that he could explain that it wasn't like that.
Wait, it's not what you think.
I was too furious, too shaken to listen. I threw open the door, grabbing a can of peas from the pantry and waving it like a weapon, insisting he leave now, clothes or no clothes. He scurried out, grabbing his neatly folded clothes that he placed on the floor by the door, a detail that for some reason sent my anger flaring higher. But as I checked my door, I realized just how easily he'd slipped in. Earlier, when he'd walked me back, he'd used the button near the latch to keep the outside knob unlocked. He knew. He'd planned this. In a daze, I gathered myself and called the desk sergeant. It was humiliating, trying to explain what had happened. He asked the basic questions. Had I been touched? Was anything missing? Hadn't been touched, but something gnawed at me as I scanned my room. My laptop was gone. The adrenaline surged, and I found myself at his room, pounding on the door until his roommate answered, bleary-eyed. I told him exactly what had happened, demanding my laptop back. Can of peas in hand, I promised to make he and his roommate wish he never met me. I texted Gerrad that he had exactly 5 minutes to put it on my welcome mat, or he'd be dealing with me and the police.
She returns to her room, her heart still hammering with frustration and fury. Just as her patience is wearing thin, she hears a soft sound outside her door. Cautiously, she opens it to find her laptop lying on her welcome mat, its screen open, partially wiped, the cursor still blinking on a confirmation screen. She picks it up, feeling both violated and relieved, her hands trembling as she clutches the device. This betrayal is almost too much to bear, but she knows what she has to do.
At the military police station, I sit before the duty officer, relaying my statement with a mixture of anger and humiliation. The sergeant listens, his face impassive as he considers the report. He asks if I was physically harmed or if I want to report any stolen items. He offers me a quiet piece of advice. I could report this as breaking and entering, indecent exposure, and harassment without losing my laptop to evidence. The other MPs mill around, smirk, throwing lighthearted jokes about skeletons in the closet and how I should have smelled him before I saw him, but all I could think about was that sick, crawling feeling of being watched as I slept. Back in my barracks room that night marked the beginning of my new reality, a new obsessive state. My sleep was restless, broken, haunted by the sensation of a tug on the covers, a hint of a pungent scent lingering in the air. Now, every night, I double check the locks on my door, the windows, the closet, and of course, under the bed. Because you never know what might be waiting, silent, patient, just a breath away.